Just check the audio. Check, 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 check. Okay. Let's see. Any messages. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm not gonna obviously do his chart, but I'm just curious just to see a few things. All right. All right, I'm confused because you said your North Node is rising, but put it, I mean, you had his birth info as March 22, 1980, 8:30. Yeah. So his rising would be Libra. Based on that info. But yeah, I mean, that's just yeah. The Aries, Gemini. I think you meant to say your North Node's on his close to his Venus. Chiron. More Chiron though. Well, first of all, I think so from a karmic perspective, I actually was just doing a chart where I was talking about this. You have a marker of past past life trauma sounds too like too much of a blanket statement. Let's share screen again. But basically, South Node with Pluto and Scorpio, on the ascendant, square Jupiter. There's just a tendency karmically to like most people when they come in with a Scorpio North Node or South Node, especially with Pluto on it, they have brought in baggage from past lives. And, you know, I think that a lot of it is around the root chakra. Um, Especially being a Virgo, Virgo Mars, Virgo Mercury. with the Leo moon, I definitely think that your purpose in this life, I mean, just not saying this is your full purpose, but like, what I like actually, and it shows a Black Moon Lilith on the North Node is to accept change um, that leads you to be more grounded. Like a lot of it is like work around the root chakra and feeling secure. Um, I see a lot about identity also and how that can like fluctuate a good amount. Um, and yeah, just overall, there's a deep need for you, to like I think that, yeah, past life trauma, but also most likely, Moon square Pluto is I see that all the time, and it usually indicates someone who has some type of childhood trauma on the emotional level. And trauma is subjective anyways, so I think that when you already come into this life with the South Node in Scorpio, there's this energy of like not really feeling safe, not really feeling secure. And when you add that with Moon square Pluto, it can definitely make it so, I don't like to say mom or dad, but because I prefer to just say like the early nurturing, and you'll know like which parents, or anything like that. But it doesn't, it's not like a secure energy. Um, and so the lower energy of Scorpio you're trying to move away from is filling the life with drama, with crises. And I'm not like calling you dramatic when I say that. I'm saying that that is a tendency, because someone with this type of energy, they get introduced to the darker side of reality at a very young age. And when that's the case, it's difficult for them to, and trust me, like the amount of my clients who have Moon square Pluto, it's massive. Or Moon square is probably, it's really, really huge. And when I say that, you can think, okay, well, that's interesting. Why would people that go to me, right, have that? Well, I mean, it's what I call a karmic initiation. So it's like whatever family situation, upbringing you had is meant to push you into healing, into a life where that is, has to be of utmost importance, or else there's this continuing self-sabotage, right? There's this continuing potential to self-sabotage and get in one's own way, which if you take um, the Virgo variety of that, the Virgo flavor of that, it's usually around the mental. I always say with people who have Virgo planets, it's like it's great for it can it's it's great. And my mom has the same sun and moon as you, by the way. She's a Virgo, Leo moon. Interesting. Um, but yeah, so it's like there's always a million reasons why one can worry about something, or there's always a million reasons to, to worry each day, right? And with this, right, with the North Node in Taurus, I think people can misunderstand that quite easily. It's really a karmic journey to really work on your root chakra. And I don't just mean like from a physical level. I mean, um, to really feel secure in your own body, in your own self, and not need validation from anyone else. I mean, of course, it's a North Node in seventh house, so there is a relational energy. But yeah, Taurus is about heaven on earth, right? So when I think of someone who has like succeeded with that North Node in Taurus, and I've talked to people like this, right? They usually have like a pretty tough upbringing. They might not be even be conscious about like how the different factors in their lives, whether it's mom, dad, whatever, right? They might not even be conscious of exactly how um, those impacted them on a psychological level. But with Pluto, it's yeah, and it can also be very it can be very secretive, right? It can be very hidden, very it's like it's really our deep unconscious, right? So um when they talk about shadow work, it's obviously easier said word. I kind of like to define it. It's the idea of we all have things within us that could be better. And Virgo's hyper aware of that, right? Too aware often. And that's what can happen is that even when it comes to spirituality and self-help and all that, Virgo can still take that perfectionism energy, that energy of perfectionism there. So it's really important to know in any work you're doing that you're not going to be perfect and to learn to have a sense of humor around not being perfect. And even when, yeah, but like that, so that's kind of what I'm saying is that Virgo, especially if there's like early messaging that isn't very positive, that can really stick in the unconscious, and there can be this never good enough type energy, right? And it can move from the parents early upbringing to relationships, right? So yeah, that's kind of like a big part of what I sense and what I see is that yeah, with shadow work, it's really like looking, and like I said, it's not about being perfect. It's just about like taking it like one, taking an honest look um at the self, looking for cycles, looking at oneself. Okay, what am I doing that is um not conducive to my growth? And I always have to say when I say this, like I'm not coming to you from a place of perfection in any way, shape, or form. I'm just, telling you what I see. Um, this was making my shirts, but whatever. And yeah, and it's very easy to kind of push that away. And I think that yeah. So when I was talking earlier about the people with this nodal axis that I see that have been big successes, it's like they always tell me about how maybe they'll have them like a lot of them had very controlling or even manipulative parents where they had to create like massive boundaries around those relationships. um and I always say the key is to still not have is to not have resentment and hate, even if you do have to create a boundary with a parent per se. um but they tend to, a lot of them do yoga. That's what I've seen. They do something that gets them in their body, and there's a level of consistency there, right? Where they're in their body, and not only physically, they it's like they've worked on their self-esteem. They've worked on self-love, on understand that the journey, especially with you with Sun square Uranus, right? Your life journey isn't like meant to be what everyone else is doing. That's like a very like rebellious energy that loves freedom. Um, and yeah, so it's just sort of about you having your own values, what you deem to be important, and moving towards that. Now, the fact that Black Widow is with a North Node to me is like kind of like a witchy energy where it's like you're, you know, it's part of your North Node journey to really understand what North Node in Taurus or Black Widow in Taurus is all about, right? And because like I said, Black Widow or North Node in Taurus is in a large part about all these things I'm talking about. Grounding the energy and so forth and feeling good inside the physical body, but it's also anything Scorpio Taurus is about distrusting. It's like people tend to have this distrusting attitude towards change, and they're here to overcome that, right? And sometimes I think people with this, they can have a lot of trouble of letting go. Like whether it's a relationship, a friendship, whatever it is, right? A situation, tendency, like there can be a lot of fear, right? And especially with all the Virgo mercurial mental energy, right? Virgo is very, very in they can be very stuck in their heads. They can intellectualize things a lot. And I think doing something like yoga, meditation, these types of things, obviously I'm not saying that's the only cure to your whole life, but I think that like if you can kind of catch my drift on like just like that, like Taurus is also about nature, right? Hiking, things that calm your nervous system down. I think if you're living a life um that's like, when you look at like the daily kind of or weekly life, it's just there's like cycles of stress. I just don't see like, I mean, obviously that's not good for anyone, but for you, down to where you live, to your lifestyle, to the speed of your lifestyle, to your work, all that stuff. Like it's you're here, you've had like past lives with South Node in Scorpio that have been fucking hard, and lots of trauma. And you're here to relax a bit or to try to learn to relax. A lot of people with South Node and Scorpio have had traumatic endings to past life where they were betrayed, and there's deep emotional wounds, right? So and like feeling cheated. Um, so it can be really, really hard to trust people and to trust in anything, right? Especially it's square Jupiter. So that speaks to like how your overall faith was broken, right? Your overall faith was broken through whatever experiences you went through. It broke. Your soul is here to try to regain a sense of trust in God, trust in the universe, trust in things being good. And this is like root chakra, like, which is the question is like, am I safe? Right? Am I safe in this body? Am I safe in this world? um Basic human security, because it's like the foundation of everything is the root chakra. If you have um an unbalanced root chakra, it's very, very hard to feel grounded. And if you don't feel grounded, um you can have the most developed third eye and everything, right? But it's not going to matter. So I mean, I believe that the heart chakra is really like kind of a portal. And I never, I normally don't talk about chakras this much. So and I mean it more metaphorically, or just as much metaphorically than I do like working on the chakras, because I'm not like, I wouldn't say like that's like my specialty. I mean, obviously I've done it, I know about it, but I'm not like, but the idea is, root chakra is feeling secure, and heart chakra is unconditional love. So let's see. So yeah, I think that like when you have past lives like that, it can be really, really easy to allow fear for fear to kind of seep in on an unconscious level and to hold you back from trusting the process. So yeah. Um So yeah, it's kind of like the questions are like, can you set your own rules, where and really, you know, create stability in your own life, have boundaries, right? Because like your South Node's in the first, so um it does speak, North Node in the seventh, that relationships are meant to play a role in that, but at the same time, it isn't necessarily like you have to stay in relation. I'm not saying anything about your marriage in any way, right? I would be saying this to you regardless. Like it's not like you have to like it's not like you have to stay in this relationship for this reason, right? It's still about like there is a need to feel grounded. And I think that I think Leo moons can be very sensitive. Um, Definitely. And very giving. And one of the best parts of Leo moons is that they're kind of internal children. So that gives you this ability to kind of stay young and stay fun. But even that, which is the heart chakra, heart of the lion, but at the same time, um, there's a lot of work that needs to be done psychologically, right? Um, First part of life, South Node, right? It's usually, yeah, it's a crisis, right? Like that feeling of having your guard up all the time, tough to trust, like I said. Um, and you're going to be given the opportunity to learn to trust yourself in this lifetime. Um, and then once that happens, you become super confident in life in general, right? In all things. But one of the big lessons with Taurus is persistence and self-discipline. Um, right? So I think on some level, South Node Scorpios are usually very, very good when it comes, just naturally very, very tapped in psychologically. Um, but because there's so much of that unconscious energy, right? Um, and with the Pluto square moon, that usually in childhood, right, where there's like a lot of like it kind of makes someone have like almost like a Leo Scorpio slash Scorpio moon. There's trauma, and there's you know there's a lot. I see that in a lot of people's charts where there's like a big generational cycle in their family where they're the ones who are meant to break it. Um, so in order to really understand the future, you have to reflect on the past. Um, right? And sometimes what feels familiar, like that's what I'm saying, like with the South Node Scorpio with Pluto, sometimes people, if they come from a traumatic, like a Christ, a very dark background, and what feels familiar to them might be that same a similar energy, and they can sometimes go into relationships that have that same type because it feels familiar, right? And it's very unconscious. So there can be, I see this all the time, an unconscious attraction to crisis. Um, and sometimes when things become too calm, it almost something feels off, right? Um, so the big work is like whatever was lacking is in your childhood, whether it was like a stable environment or adults being a certain way, nurturing. It's like being able to create that for your kids, right? And then that helps you. Um, so yeah, you get better at this, as you get older, as you get more awareness and all that. But yeah, overall, like Taurus is a sign of peace, of just like being present, right? It's like Virgo is a sign that can be all over the place, like this or that, this potential, that potential, like very nervous, right? But Taurus is very much about just peace, and just happy, simple, right? Um, or happy with the simple things, and able to stay rooted in the present and not freak out too much about what happened and what's going to happen. But obviously, that's you at the same time you can't override the past, right? So I think that there's kind of like a double message where it's like, yeah, you are meant to have like karmic relationships, but then also you are meant to focus on yourself. And there can be a tendency to pay too much attention to how others live, and sometimes people with this will seek validation too much in other people. And it's like, you know, finding that within yourself, right? So I think like yeah, so it's like if you imagine like Scorpio is just very otherworldly, right? So it's like sometimes people with this they have a tendency to be very mystical, very into those areas of life, but when it comes to like the mundane everyday parts of life, they might not be so tapped into to that, right? Or paying enough attention to that. So yeah, it's good to use that South Node in order to like get big with the esoteric, get deep with the esoteric and spirituality. Um, but when it comes to yeah, just like with the whole crises thing, best to avoid that. Hold on one second. So um yeah, I would say like when it comes to weaknesses for Taurus, North Node. What is this? My volume so good. Yeah, it's around self-worth and self-esteem. Um, and like with all the other energy, it can just kind of really just wiggle all over the place, you know? It can be really hard to like have that just stay solid day after day. Um, and with partnership, it could be that same energy, right? Where it's like in past life, there's a tendency, Scorpio is very relational in that sense, like seeking so much validation from your partner, right? But by learning to give this validation to yourself, that's actually like when other people become more appreciative of you, right? When you're not, when you have solid boundaries, um and you're really valuing yourself first, then that gives off it's like and by the way, anything I'm saying, like I'm not like, even though you said some things to me, like I still X them out. Like I try to give a very objective take. So I'm not talking about you in any way. That's kind of how I do my readings. I try to be as objective as possible. That's why I don't want to see photos or anything. I have seen some, but I'm still, you know. Um, but yeah, it's like, people, it's just more attractive, I think, to both genders, right? Um, I can speak from my own experience and from experience of so many that when someone is living for themselves and not like a narcissistic selfish way, but when someone has their own standards, when someone isn't just going to put up with whatever, right? When someone um has their own life, you know they're not, like they're not waiting, they don't need that validation. um that's when things are a lot better, right? So of course there is that desire to merge with merge with the partner and have this very close relationship, but it's like kind of like the metaphor of like, you have to like make by you making your garden, cleaning up your garden, the other stuff will just work itself out, right? um because like, yeah, I've seen too many times people with this type of energy like trying to prove themselves so much to their partner, and they can almost like feel worthy based on how much their partner's giving them. Their partner's only a human. Their partner's like, so yeah, it's a little bit difficult in that sense. Let's see. So I would say like with the Earth North Node, it's understanding that like, that by building things step by step, little by little, that's kind of the key. Um, the shadow of Taurus, the Black Moon Lilith, is someone who's stubborn and who doesn't want to, you know, allow new things in their life, who doesn't want to let go. So I think that's another big part of the whole the healing here is, gaining that confidence in the self to be able to let go of whatever, um if they need to, right? Like I was talking a week or so ago about relationships and just how uncomfortable it feels, when you or I, when I have too much riding on one person. That could just be me, but just like the idea that regardless of what happens with this person, still have yourself, and try and really kind of going based off of that, right? Like if this person left me today, obviously with the husband, it's way different, but it's like, would you be ruined, right? And of course, some things are very, very difficult, right? But it's like, I think a lot of people in today's world, they just get so deep in the relationships and the relationships just to find everything about them, right? And then, yeah. So, mm, but I think just with the house, it's like, to me, it is about cooperation and, being able to have very grounded and grounded partnerships that, yeah, bring, like, where you guys kind of work together to achieve peace. But if it's like a Plutonian relationship or like a low Plutonian relationship, that's where it's like this power struggle, this sort of competition, and there's not really that rooted feeling. Um, so yeah, I think Lilith and Taurus, some of the wounding can be around, yes, sense of security, right? So like it's like not feeling like it's safe to have fun, to be yourself, to be happy, to see the beauty in life, to be in the present, right? As I was saying before. Um, so a lot of people with this, like early on, they learn to reject pleasure or feel even guilty about receiving it or receiving in general. Um, so and it's also, yeah, like I said, like a big fear of loss, right? Like if I let this go, like what will I be, right? Really, really hard to let go with that placement, and that's part of your North Node journey. um and yeah, and then I would say another shadow of that can be like, it's like it can make someone, and remember, this is just a potential Lilith, right? People can be possessive with that. um so I think like the whole idea with this energy is, letting go, right? And it's not like letting go and just like, it's being, yeah, it's just the idea of like, okay, if I were to let this go, what am I after that, right? If you peel layers back, if I let this if this didn't exist in my life, who am I, right? um so yeah, I think that's the thing. And sometimes I think sometimes they'll use like sex or sensual stuff. Not always, but I've seen that where they'll like overuse it to try to kind of control their partner or to try to like keep them in a certain way. But there's like, yeah, a lot of times there's which I know is normal, but like there can just be like a big fear of losing that person, because of a fear of, if they did, that they wouldn't be anything. or they're afraid of like what they would be without that person. And that's, yeah, when all the Virgo comes in, right? Which can be the overanalyzing. So the best way with Virgo, the lesson with Virgo is to take from Pisces. Virgo is a step-by-step element, right? Very good at the routine and all that, and very good at understanding and being realistic. Um, but then Pisces, the opposite sign, is about allowing yourself to dream a lot, like knowing that it will all work out in some way, right? It's not always obvious, but always works out. But yeah, I mean, like the moon square Pluto, it's very difficult to not have like the emotions be like swinging back and forth. Especially since mm, mm, mm. Yeah, so especially since you're about to enter transit Pluto opposite your moon, one of the hardest transits. If you decide to get the current astrology reading with me, you can let me go. We can go into that. But if you don't, you can search on Google transit Pluto opposite moon. Transit, make sure you have that. Transit Pluto opposite moon. So that is probably what you're feeling right now. Honestly, that's like some people say that's the most difficult transit. Doesn't mean bad. I'm not telling you like get scared. Like transits are opportunities at the end of the day. But yeah, like it's Pluto's gonna be in Aquarius, it's gonna be opposing your 1 degree Leo moon. So definitely an emotional rebirth, but it's not always easy, and that it kind of forces that letting go, that not forces, but it really gets one into that need to let go, right? With that said, you have a lot of very powerful parts in your chart. Like you have, your Pluto rising, right? That's just like a very powerful energy. I think people who have that are naturally very mystical, and they have this vibe to them. They're good leaders. They are psychologically very advanced. They are able to transform themselves. Like they might not even see this in themselves as much as others do, but it's the ability to, no matter what happens in life, to bounce back. But because it's square the moon, which, by the way, what I just said, super important. So I know you might like the fact. So you have, so Pluto's opposing your moon over the next few years, but the fact that you're born with Pluto square moon makes that a lot easier and more natural for you, right? It's something. It's like it's a familiar energy. So yeah. Um, yeah, so I think that there's just a real tendency for negativity. Um, I think like meditation, being able to like really be conscious and use mindfulness and see, okay, like this is coming up, slow down in your life, slow down your mind, right? What's this energy? It's like being really conscious of it. Okay, this is negative, right? There's fear and love, right? So worry is part is it's a cousin of fear, right? It's linked to fear. And it's just sort of like being able to catch yourself and and just breathe, and there's a lot of physical work, like I said too, right? That goes into it with the root chakra. But whether it's kundalini yoga or whatever people do, I think that being able to have this like relaxed root chakra and just this relaxed energy within yourself is like, that's where everything springs from. And I know that's what a lot of this stuff comes to. I used to hate it, because I would want different answers in readings, and then it would sort of be that message of it's all within you, and just like fuck you, like, but it really is, and it sucks because we do want something magical to come and save us, but at the end of the day, you do have a lot of really good resources. Like you have Jupiter right on your IC retrograde, so that is an amazing placement. Usually that speaks of a good childhood, which is interesting, right? It's right on your IC. It speaks of usually of a childhood that's full of opportunity, of learning, of happiness. So it's interesting that you have this like, maybe one parent, something was, I don't know, like the two things can be true at the same time. But um I think on a psychological level, Jupiter IC people, they love their home. They love they are able to, when life brings them down, they're really able to bounce back up, you know, and see the glass is half full. Even if the Virgo expression might kind of be worrying a lot, they're able to bounce back, they're able to kind of like go with the punches and whatnot. So yeah. I would think with Pluto rising though, sometimes people with that they don't realize how intense they are, like how, you know, like they can be like sometimes a little bit intimidating for other people. I think Virgo is gonna definitely help that, like the Virgo energy. But the thing about the Virgo energy too, you have Virgo Mars, and it's well aspected, but still it is an energy that can be very nitpicky at times. Like that's like the low, like Virgo Mars is very very good for, it's very very observant. Mercury there too, right? Very very observant and sees all the little details. Um, but like imagine someone who sees all the little things, right? You know how there's people who just don't observe shit, like they just like they don't pick up on anything. Like I see that, like my videos, for example, I can tell you probably watch, you probably are able to like really, really watch them and see everything and kind of like really like you might a lot of Virgo people like they see themselves as here and other people as here, but really they're here and other people are here. Like some people like don't even have the they have like no attention span, maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like you are able to really really pick up on details and see little things, right? That's like, and that's it's, for better and for worse, right? um it's very very good for any kind of work you want to do, like that, where being analytical and being precise and all that is important, which is I think most work, consistent. But then when in relationships, what can happen is if someone is not nice to themselves, if they have like negative self-talk, um, different interjects and whatnot, right? Different self-limiting beliefs, they can project that onto people close to them. And it can sometimes feel like you're walking on eggshells around people who have that energy. I've seen it work worse with men's charts than females' charts, honestly, though. But yeah. So the fact that 11th house is so coveted makes me think, and the moon is with the midheaven, that your career slash your dharma, your mission in life is very important to you, and that it might not be, sometimes 11th house people, it's like later in life that they really become aware of this, right? And with Virgo, like I said, you have to overcome yourself. That's you first overcome yourself. That's the biggest battle for people with Virgo placements, is to overcome themselves and their own potential self-talk and ways they might self-sabotage, which I think we all do in some way, right? Most of us anyways. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of very good energy for career and for dharma, not just career, right? Just like big picture life, with your moon there. People moon MC are seen they're very likable to people that don't even know them. Um, People see them as trustworthy, and even Venus, same, like, very very like it's just a good energy to have in your 10th house. It can make one fall in love at with people who do, similar things to them with work, or just like it can just give them very good, like positive energy for their work life when they're headed in the right direction with respect to that. Um, and yeah, I think with Leo Moon, there's just this real need to express the self, right? To express the authentic self. So if that was blocked early on, then your Chiron and Gemini, right? It's very, there. I see that with a lot of my clients, and it's in the eighth house, so that could be related to, like, sometimes eighth house Chiron is related to sexual trauma. I don't really go further into that unless someone wants to bring that up to me, but I have had people do that, and but with Chiron and Gemini, I see that so much, right? I get so many people from around 86, 85. And there's a reason to it, right? And it's because those people, they, for whatever reason, received the message when they're younger that there's something wrong with their way of thinking, or, that maybe a communication problem, or just something in their way of thinking or talking that just didn't work, that was just off, right? Or at least that's how that's what they were kind of told, and what they how they saw things. So their goal is to go through life, and to really gain confidence in that. And part of that is through that Leo Moon. Leo Moon, I think, at the highest energy, is someone who can express themselves in a very fluid way, an authentic way, where they're not trying to be anyone else besides themselves, where they're trying to create, where they're trying to, yeah, just be themselves. I mean, there's no other way of saying it, right? Inner child energy is Leo Moon. Like I said, it's a person who can just stay. I know, a lot of Leo Moons, and you you know women of all different ages, right? And they all have this youthful energy. So I think, but then with Scorpio and Virgo, those can be very serious energies. So it's like, how do you balance those two out? Well, the answer is, a prayer would be another one, right? Like, just getting deep. The deeper you get into your spirituality, the more you learn to just trust, and have faith, even if things feel very off. Like, let's say with your husband, right? I don't like to give, like, bad, like, negative conditionals. Because I don't think, I wasn't thinking that that was, like, true or anything like that. I was just gonna be like, like, yeah, I'm not gonna go there. That's extreme example. I was gonna say, like, if something didn't work out with your husband, blah blah blah, blah. No, but, like, what's a more chill example? Let's say you get a job, or you have, like, a long-term best friend. If something just really really important, that's why I thought the husband, because it is monumentally important. Okay, I'm just gonna say it, whatever. Um like if things didn't work out, like, what's the instant reaction, right? And that has nothing to do, that's just like a litmus test of, like, where one's at, right? Like, with that fear of letting go. And but once again, like, I'm not gonna comment. I mean, I don't know. Like, compatibility astrology is very, very, very intense. Very, very. It's like my most complicated reading. It takes me forever. And what I can say is that I've seen the best charts in terms of how they work with one another, um, not do well, and then I've seen, like, the worst combinations somehow do really, really well. So very mysterious. But overall, like, the goal is just to be able to, like, yeah, to be true to yourself, and to accept, to know, like, okay, like, even like I guess I could give an example from my life, right? Like, I have a girlfriend. And just the thought of, like, let's say, like, me and her broke up, right? And obviously there's a ton of fear around that. We've been together for like 4 or 5 years. Um, but it's still like, okay, like, if I feel in that energy, obviously it's very scary, right? It's very, very ungrounding and scary, but it's just like that overarching, like, faith, right? That I have. And I know it's not comparable to your situation. And I'm not even like trying to bring that up because I'm not speaking about your relationship. I'm saying like that can be friends, that can be work, that can be anything in life, you know? So when you start to like really feel into the heart and the intuition, as opposed to like just the brain, because the brain is never going to bring you down the right path, right? The logic and all that, especially when if you have trauma around feeling grounded and root chakra stuff and feeling safe and feeling secure and feeling like completely lovable and, stuff like of that nature, um, it's going to make it really rough. It can make it like a roller coaster, right? So that's why your North Node in Taurus is really asking you to learn to like, truly ground yourself. And when you're headed that, when headed in the right direction for your North Node, things start to align themselves, right? Like, yeah. I think with work, it'd be good to have something that makes you feel proud, that makes you feel creative, that makes you feel like you're making sort of a pretty unique, very authentic to you um, contribution to the world. And yeah, I think you could do good at many, many different things with all that Virgo energy, but also like where you're not, like where you're not in that stuck in that perfectionism, right? The 100 or 0 energy. And if you don't get to 100, just follow 0. All right, so let's take a look at this. Hmm. So yeah, moon opposite Jupiter, Jupiter opposite nodes. So I think that can speak to like some people with that. There can be like an overindulgence tendency, where it can be sometimes difficult to find motivation to leave the nest. Like I know I said that like you have it on the IC. So sometimes people with that, it's like they, I know I saw the Pluto energy, but like sometimes people with that, it's like they are, yeah, like sometimes they actually received a lot from their mother, or their mother was overindulgent, and it's just like, yeah, the motivation to like really leave the nest is difficult. But yeah, you have a lot of like mixed energy here. um so yeah, I would say a lot of people with that can lack faith in themselves and put other people on pedestals. So it's about, yeah, like learning moderation, learning balance, as we keep saying. um Chiron square sun is interesting. A lot of times that's like a father wound, um, and something that can kind of block one from fully, obviously it's like it pushes one to heal, which can make them a great healer and understand and give great gifts when it comes to understanding others at a deep level. But yeah, so it's great for empathy and all that, but people with that, they there's lots of trials and tribulations around feeling strong and feeling um, you know, fully in themselves, right? And I would say even with Sun and Uranus, right? I see that a lot. That is just the person, like some people with that, they don't find their life purpose till 52 or 40, they always want to do things their own way, and they're here to be, to be authentic, right? To be like they're not here to follow rules per se, right? It really is, and sometimes it goes too far with risk taking, and it can make someone sometimes like a little bit too What happened? Yeah, I can sometimes make people a little bit too willing to like, just like, oh, I just want to do like, if there's like two choices, it's like sometimes they'll take the choice that is the one that's way like whichever one is more rebellious, right? But it gets a lot easier with age, and it can really be like super creative and someone who, okay, my camera is being weird, but I'll fix it in a sec. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Yeah. So either way, like it makes someone who wants to do things their own way, and usually in relationships, like they like to have a level of freedom. Um, they don't like to be feel boxed in. But we'll see what that other stuff says about relationships. Um, but yeah, I would say like definitely like it can make someone a little bit overly impulsive, especially the fire moon. So, like you'll know when you're at your north node, when you're really like headed towards that north node, when you're very grounded and it feels like you have a lot more time internally to make decisions, like little split-second decisions. You know what I mean? And obviously that's different day for day, and you are a Virgo, um, with a Leo moon, right? So I'm not saying you like to become like some monk or some Zen master, but those types of words or elements are, you know, they're good to follow, right? Um, which a big part of that I think with Taurus North Node also is about slowing down your rule, slowing down your life, slowing down your speed. So, um, yeah. In relationships, it can lead to someone like challenging, like coming off as like very, very challenging and provoking. Um, so yeah, it can kind of like go back to that energy of Pluto where it's just like the crises that come up, like the drama crises and kind of like an unconscious pull towards that. And it's true. Like seriously, I'm not saying this in a way that's like shitting on you in any way. Like like this is so common. Like you have no idea. Maybe you do. But like the amount of people I say this to, it's extreme. Like everyone has this to an extent. Like I have this, like my own version of it, right? Because what's comfortable to you? Like let's say you're from a family that doesn't say I love you, or they're not very good at showing emotion in that way. It's just not part of the culture and the family. And then the person goes out in the world and they have friends who say it very easily. They have partners that say it to them, but then when their partners say it, they feel weird saying it back because they're like, I don't even say this to I barely say this to my own family members. Like, how am I going to just say it so openly to this person that's not even in my family, right? And then that affects the relationship. Does that make sense? Like, this is a random example. So it's because that's what they were used to. That's where they come from. Instead, they choose like a partner where like it's more like, you know, it's more not cold. Yeah, let's say more cold or more distant, more emotionally unavailable, or I don't know. Like, yeah, just an example. So, yeah, but it's very brilliant placement. Um, very brilliant placement. I think that there's a level of yeah, of creative self-expression that comes from that over time as you truly get into yourself and into your like not fearing like your own independence. Like relationships should like it's yes, it's you're there is a passive tendency to be more on your own, but at the same time, it's like there, it's still Scorpio. So it's like it's kind of like relationships should just be an added extra. They shouldn't be everything, you know? It's like you and relationship. That's the set area is Libra. It's like the extreme of Libra is like codependency. I need the other person to feel, you know, like if I don't have the other person, I'm nothing. Codependency. Extreme of Aries is like I'm not willing to compromise at all. Like I don't, yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like finding that middle ground. Um, but yeah, I think like with Sun square Uranus, like having a physical outlet would be very good with a lot of things in your chart to burn off of this energy. Also can turn into nervous energy with Virgo too, especially. Virgos are very good at this usually, but they really need to have an outlet of some sort, right? Or else it can make them quite erratic and restless. So yeah. So I would say like overall with the Uranus square sun, part of the clash is like being able to accept I'm different and embracing that about yourself, embracing your uniqueness, and then being able to like, you know, with other people, like find other people. Like, I've seen people with this aspect where it's like, um, I would say like the low manifestation is like if they don't accept their own inner weirdo, I guess we could say. Inner, but not weirdo has a negative connotation, but like, you know, inner conformist. I don't know, it sounds weird too. But you know what I mean. So yeah, it's just it's very good for yeah. Um but yeah, I definitely seen this one. It can be quite aggressive and very like impulsive. That's why I'm saying like you're here, like when I said Zen master, I'm not even joking. Like you're here to kind of like really slow the fuck down, you know? Like you have a lot in your chart that because you don't want to be, especially the Jupiter and the, you don't want to be doing things where it's like you do them and they come from this compulsive Plutonian place and then you regret them, you know? Just about like with meditation, with yoga, stuff like that, you get the neutral mind where it's like it feels like there's more space. It feels like you have more time, even though like time is subjective, right? But like, it feels like you have more time to make decisions. Like it's not just like thing happens, trigger happens, and it hits you and you react, right? It's like mindfulness, right? It's where like the trigger happens, you take it in, and you realize, oh, I have a choice how I want to act in this situation, and you start changing that. You start rewiring your being in that way, right? So, and it's fine to be eccentric. It's fine to do things a little bit different, right? But sometimes people with this, like they can be others can kind of like not like their very erratic kind of different way of doing things. And it's just about self-acceptance, right? Um, and yeah, I think it's fun, you know. I think it's fun to have that Uranus energy. But early on, perhaps that was difficult. If you just had like all these different types of ideas and maybe you could create kind of the black sheep in the family. Yeah, very trendsetter energy too, very like pioneer. So, anyways, yeah, like as long as you're breaking free of restrictions, societal, limitations placed on us, and being a rebel in a way that's not like like sometimes it's like a rebel. People with this can be like a rebel in a way that like pisses other people off. Um, it's which is fine, like screw them. But at the same time, it's just like making sure that that's coming from a place of like, for example, like let's say there's a person who does astrology because they really love it, or the person does astrology because they know it's going to piss off their parents or something, right? Just first example that came in my head. It has nothing to do with me, but like just like that, right? Like so, like that's one is a high Uranus, one is a low Uranus, right? So it's really about following the heart. Lots of people like this are but also watching out for like high risk activities. Like I've seen people with this who are just like obsessed with gambling or anything like quick dopamine hits, escapism type stuff, right? So yeah. Um, let's see here. Yeah. So once again, like the big thing for you is like getting to the bottom of these compulsive emotional patterns that come that might even just get triggered in relationships, um, or in your family, your relationship with your parents, or family growing up, or just family in general, right? People closest to you, that get access to your moon sign. Not everyone gets access to your moon sign, right? To your moon. So I think that there's usually quite a lot of pain related to home, family, intimate relationships with this type of energy, this Pluto energy. Like I said, it's very ancestral. Um, and it's very devotional, right? It's like people with this, they can be they often feel very misunderstood because they are very, very loyal, and but they can fall really, really fast, really, really hard, right? Um, so yeah. Um, but then like once you get to that place of like, you know I'm not saying you haven't, I don't know you like that, but that place of like self-awareness, it's like just this elimination of destructive feelings and behaviors, right? It's like you start to like see all these little things, and then that's when you really tap into that real Pluto rising power, which is like oof, like very strong, and can just like bulldozer through all the bullshit. But like I said, foundations are everything. If you are a skyscraper, you are trying to build yourself. What am I saying? Like if you're a skyscraper, if you are, the foundations is the most important, right? You can build the best skyscraper. If it's on shady foundations, it's gonna fall. So yeah. So each time you become aware, just aware of one of the psychological issues at hand, you take a big evolutionary leap. And that's your North Node energy, right? So that's huge. Um, so like everything that you acquired during the most dark times becomes very, very, very juicy, and very important, very, very helpful for you when it comes to truly transforming early on, because it gives you the clues. And like your very unconscious emotional reactions, those are the clues, right? Like example. Okay, so like a client of mine recently was talking to a girl, and the girl sort of disappeared, right? She's one of those types. So she kind of disappeared, and he never met her or anything like that. Like she didn't live where he lived, but she kind of disappeared, and his reactions when I talked to him, I was telling him, I was like, okay, like first of all, right now, because he had some of these things in his chart, I was like, the way you're feeling, because a lot of shame was coming up for him, like not being good enough. I was like, you don't know. This girl could be going through some crazy energy. It's like a full moon type time, or full moon energy. And you don't know the fact that your default is to go to, oh, it's something wrong with me, which is basically what he's doing. I'm not good enough, blah, blah. Like regardless of whether that's the truth or not, that's something that needs to be looked at, right? That's an example. You know what I mean? And I was telling him, I was like, if you like, if she texts you in 2 days, does that make everything you were feeling before not something and you're unconscious? So that's what I mean by clues, right? Um, so another thing to watch out for, though, is your Virgo perfectionism falling into your shadow work, right? Where you're like, I have to get past everything perfectly, right? Because Plutonian people like yourself are very obsessive, which is great because once you really, really hit the ground, like with anything in life, you can just go a million miles per hour, million miles per hour, and become very obsessed with it. Um, but yeah, just knowing that there's no such thing as perfection. Um, but yeah, I would say like the main, like the biggest thing for you, self-control, balance, and slowing down, and and perspective, you know. That's literally it. That's everything. All right, so um let's see here. So I think work-wise, you definitely would like to be doing something. Yeah, like I said some things already that you're connected to, you have an emotional connection to what you're doing. 11th house suns, I think that like those could be the people who are, meant to really, really do something for the new world, right? As healers, or inventors or something different, So it's like always keep exploring, and like that goes back to the whole self-esteem thing, you know really feeling like, and that's like with relationships, which I'll talk about now. Feeling like you have that person that really believes in you, that's so important, and you feel that unconsciously. So if you're with someone that doesn't believe in you and that doesn't see you in the way, you said he thinks he's smarter than you said about many things in the messages, right? um Gaslights you, all that, like, what do you think that's doing for you? And maybe you were being dramatic. I'm not gaslighting you by saying that, by the way. I'm just basing that off the Plutonian. Maybe you weren't. Maybe that's the truth. I don't know. I don't know you like that, right? But if that is the truth, and he is, like, I don't know, like I think a lot of what I've said already is based on the idea of it being very, very hard for you to let go. You said you want to have another kid, to receive more love, and like I get it on some level. um for men, it can be really tough to show emotions, um myself included, to show love, um and perhaps his actions show love more than his words. But yeah, I mean, overall it's still tough. But you definitely have like a lot of gifts that are meant to be shared with the world, so it maybe is about, yeah, having avenues, ways in which you can share them. um I think home life will always be a great retreat for you from the world. And I think you have a lot of esoteric intelligence, and a lot that you can discover through really going deep into the esoteric and into the psychology, into the secrets of the world, that helps you a lot. Um, but yeah, with love, it's one aspect. Obviously you need, there's a very karmic component to your anything relationship wise. Venus rules your north node, right? So, in Leo. So I think that Venus and Leo people, they really value fun, and someone who can be goofy and be also loyal, right? They want to be proud of their partner. Um, sometimes they can care a little bit too much about looks. I've noticed. But it's very well aspected. It's trine Uranus, which is nice. It's actually a very, very exciting energy for relationships, but it makes someone really like the kind of intellectually stimulating types. Where there's a very, very important aspect too is a good balance of give and take in relationships. But you're very good at giving others freedom to be themselves and feel comfortable around you. And yeah, the moon and Leo in relationships, it needs to there's that, yeah, that need to kind of like it's similar to your Venus, right? To be in your authentic self, to not feel like you have to put on a mask, right? So yeah, I think freedom is something extremely important for you. Um, I think like a relationship could really hold you back if you, on an unconscious, deep level, don't feel like you can really be yourself. Like you feel like you kind of have to, um, obviously compromise is one thing, but like compromise too much, like put yourself down in order to make that person happy. Or yeah, like to satisfy that person. And when you're your real self, if you know you get negative feedback or whatever. So yeah, I think like um even like with your Chiron energy too, like yeah, you just have like a very, very spiritual, imaginative mind. Your writing would probably be something very interesting for you, journaling, that kind of thing. So that could be like very healing. And it could also make a lot of sense with like all you're going through and help you on that North Node in Taurus because it's a form of art. Now, Juno is in Libra in the 12th. So I think like that once again speaks to what I was just saying. You want a chill, harmonious partnership, right? There has to be this kind of equal energy. And 12th house Juno, it's like, really wanting to merge with the partner and just like the relationships, the main, like the very important marriage, all that being very, very karmic, and kind of like the been there, done that. But also, I think a lot of the lessons is like, which I'm not saying let go, I'm saying being able, like, if it's a tendency for you to hold on to things when like for way too long, and I'm not talking about your relationship right now. I'm telling you this if I even if I didn't know you were married, I'd say the same shit. Um, a lot of people with these types of charts, they really struggle to let go. That's all I'm saying. Um, but yeah, your Mercury is very strong. So I love when I do readings for Mercury Virgos. Very discriminating, analytical minds, and very good at like, for example, if you could watch a reading like this and just like watch it many, many times and bunch of notes and yeah, really and analyze well, and it's nice. But it can also be a detriment if there's too much. I mean, it's very, yeah, if there's too much analysis, rumination, all that. So it's like when you catch yourself in your too much in your mind, drop down into your body, drop down into your emotions, go on a walk. Taurus is nature, get in nature, do something physical, right? Have a routine that works for you. Sixth house Aries, right? So that's like someone who wants to like, who really once again would benefit from workouts. Saturn first house, interesting. That people with that, they usually feel inadequate in childhood when it comes to self-expression. And um they can be very, very cautious when it comes to letting their true selves out. So post Saturn return, it gets easier usually, but it's not an easy placement of Saturn. I mean, Saturn's usually not easy regardless, but um and even Pluto, you know, it just, yeah, like it just creates a very powerful personality where it's placed. Um, Sometimes people with that they have like trauma to their physical body, or they have they whether it's being bullied or not always, like it's not always that, right? Because it is just on your ascendant, so it does give like a lot of strength, a lot of resilience. But you're here to transform, to go death, rebirth, transformation, different phase of your life, which means once again, there's a need to let go. There's a need to let go sometimes. Um, but when it comes to your own self-image, right, with Saturn, but back to Saturn, um, there can be this block in how you see yourself, right? Which is that's the work, peeling past the layers, right? Because the fear of the fear is more powerful than the fear itself, meaning that, you know, we often fear doing psychological work. Once we get like a little taste of it, we're like, oh shit, no, fuck that. And we just push it away. But it's really just about like being kind and taking it slow. Um, but yeah, I'd say Saturn first house is just yeah, just about feeling authentic and calm in your own skin, right? That's this like in so many other parts of your chart, right? Um, so yeah, and also just like having strong boundaries, right? Like it's in there when it's like about defending yourself and your boundaries. And I would say with the Pluto and Saturn there, like your physical body and really like I think that you at your best is when you are really like developing your physical body, whether it's like some type of workout plan. And I have no idea. I have no idea if that's what you're doing or not, right? But I can feel it, right? With this types of energy, it's like people with a lot of the placements that you have, they don't feel good when they're not like they feel that they're best when they're like really, really like dialed in that part of life, right? And it's like this real link between body and mind. So I think like when you're really going, deep within yourself, like your Jupiter and Aquarius and doing things that are helping out humanity, your metaphysical imprint on the world is there. I think that is great. I think that's when you're really able to truly feel at your best in that sense. That can really empower some of this energy. Um, and really lift the spirits. So yeah. All right. What else? Mars trying Neptune exact. Interesting. Which yeah, I would say for that that's really good for musical talent. And the fact that they are 0 degrees, both of them, it's like it's a very new mystical, like you have a real chance in this life to have like to embark on a new mystical journey, a new journey with respect to like you know, high spirituality and meaning, which has been blocked in past lives. And then with Mars, it's like kind of like lots of free will when it comes to your actions. And I think like finding a tribe of people that have the same ideals as you that can help move you in that right direction is like one of the best things possible. Um, but with Virgo, um, yeah, so it's about really find like 11th house, finding like people with a common goal, right? And just doing different things that uplift humanity in whatever way. It doesn't have to be the biggest way possible. You go with the flow. Um, so yeah. So I think best in Scorpio people, they have a very deep commitment to their work. First house, that is quite entrepreneurial. Like with Pluto there, especially, like you definitely have the potential to really like set goals and get to them. So it does give potential for someone who could, yeah, who could truly work for themselves, which not a lot of people are like that, right? And Pluto rising people are great leaders. Um, Uranus second, a lot of people with that, like they, money wise, it's like it can be kind of up and down, especially if they're too attached to materialism and they have like worries about that. But when they start to really, put that energy in kind of a more empathetic, something that's more linked to their heart and to their to what they really care about, that's when everything can change. Hold on. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, like if anyone tells you you're too complex or too overbearing, too dominant, I mean, once again, like Pluto rising, like there is that need to learn moderation, um, and not be like overly, yeah, just like too much, but like, at the same time, you are, a not easy to pin down person, right? And you're here to gain awareness about yourself. So I think another thing about that is that can make like rejection like um feel really strong. Um so with some of like the energy here, I've seen people with this where it's like with the like over, the kind of like impulsive energy where they can just like it just like pushes the importance of grounding way more. Um so yeah. So it's really about finding the balance between like being overly controlling and being like in not enough control, right? That's another big one. Yeah, Pluto rising people sometimes they don't realize the influence they have on the people around them. But the shadow is being like, manipulative and psychologically manipulative potentially. So yeah, so just like, yeah, making sure that yeah, just like letting people in your life kind of, and that's what you have good placements for that. But yeah, letting them kind of find their own place in life. And I would say like the best influence you can have is when you just, like I said, you clean your garden, you succeed on your own. That's like, like yeah, like, and just knowing that like no matter how bad things get, I'll repeat this, um no matter how bad things could get or how hopeless you could feel, you have so much in your chart that is speaking about like these regenerative powers. Um, so it's like nothing can, like things can put you down and nothing can keep you down, right? Super resilient. Um, yeah, but once again, all about self-analysis and some people with this, like they can be like very self-destructive in some ways, self-sabotaging, but once they start to see the ways in which you're doing that and they override them, that's where that soul growth really comes in. And then it just creates this like, where there's just like no limit in terms of the potential for success and achievement and yeah, all that real powerhouse energy. Okay, let's pull this up. Yeah, you have a lot that's very good for for physical activity. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, you and your husband, like, you guys have good synastry. Just like for me looking at it, like, I mean, you guys have moon trine sun, really good. Um, your Juno's on his rising. Um, I don't know. I have to look way more into that. It's far more complex. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and he has his Jupiter in Virgo, also Saturn, but still, like you fall into his 12th house. So it's obviously a very karmic relationship. That's like very, very obvious. Um, but sometimes the lessons are not always so evident, right? But it is very, very karmic. Okay, anyways, where was I? Yeah, and then even like his moon falls in your eighth house. So is it 17? No way. If it's 17, it'd be crazy. Wow. Yeah. So you guys are super meant. I mean, like I never will say like that you guys are meant to stay together for your whole lives. Like all I'm saying is that there's so much fate in your guys' chart. Um, like his moon falls right on your vertex, which is like all about like fated meetings, like very close to your vertex. So like that's really dope. All right, let me just check some things before we finish up. So I don't really put too much into like this part of the reading. It's just little cherries on top. If I see anything that is a more rising, beautiful placement. It's an asteroid that has to do with unconditional love. So you are someone who has that, which is amazing. Like you really are a loving person who has a love for humanity and for different people, and you project that outwardly, right? So it really does, even though there that Pluto can make you kind of like a Scorpio rising, like very you are Scorpio rising, so you're very, very Scorpio rising, right? The Amor, I think, definitely is quite beautiful. And then you have, so if you're ever looking to learn astrology, I do lessons, and you have Urania, the asteroid of astrology, on your fucking Jupiter. So that is like basically saying that, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like learn astrology, right? I mean, obviously it's a great aspect for that, but it also means that through even this, right, through learning astrology, even just for like even getting this reading or whatever, getting deeper into astrology is really, 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 really good for you, right? It really opens doors. Jupiter, it gives you this big perspective, and which helps your foundations, right? So on your IC, so it like really helps you blossom. Like it really like give it actually helps you with everything I talked about with respect to groundedness. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't see that one so often. Let's see. And then yeah, so you have a Regulus Mars. Very cool. I have a Regulus rising. So Regulus is one of the four royal stars, and basically, it's a really, really strong star. Mars is I mean, how close is it actually? It's like degree and a half. I think it definitely gives a lot of courage. Let me see. Mars is a little bit difficult one. Yeah, so it's a very very good for money, and even like North Node and Taurus, like Taurus is linked to money, so it could be like you're meant to get money in this life. That's like one way. Like I have to like add that in there a little bit, but not, you know, I think it's a lot more like the psychological way that I was putting it. Um, so yeah, I mean it just gives like a lot of honor and yeah, courage overall, good for sports, good for just like never giving up, you know. So yeah, lots of like very, yeah, very fearless, I would say, very fearless. So that is cool. Camera just went kaput. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, like I was saying, you have the, okay, my camera's messing up now. You have the follow-up. Nearly everyone adds the current astrology. All it's usually like 380 or something like that or more. That's the sale price, but I'll offer it to you for 260 if you have Cash App. Um, so basically, like the follow-up is an hour. You already have the follow-up, so if you want to stick to just that, that's cool. I got yours done a lot earlier. I skipped a lot of people just because I could tell that you were very nervous. And I just like, I mean, I didn't have to do it, but I just was like, you know, fuck it. She is like, I'll be honest, like I don't like when people pressure me. Um, I don't want you to feel bad when I say that because like it doesn't bother me. Like it's not like it's like on my mind, but I could just feel like with your like just energetically that you're a good person and you have a big heart, especially when I saw you have the same sun and moon as my mom. Because I know other people with that. I never met someone that it's not a very good person with those placement with that placement. Um, so yeah. I feel like yeah, I just tonight I was just like, you know, let's just fucking do it. Let's just fucking do it. She, you know, I didn't really think this, but the sense I get is if you were in a situation financially, for example, like I think you like, you know, you would have like paid as much as you had to get it done really fast. So I don't know. I pretty much skipped over a bunch of people. Um, but don't feel bad. I know I could feel with your messages. It's just it's that root chakra, you know? So we can talk about that. But yeah, I would definitely add. the current astrology. So instead of just a 1 hour follow-up, which is only about this, we would go into what's happening for you right now in the year plus ahead through all the current astrology. It's a completely different type of astrology. I call it your astrological weather report. So you know what's ahead. And it's a live reading, right? So it's not like this. So we'd have usually around like a 3 hour live conversation. So all right, let me see what else. I think I kind of pretty much covered it all. Yeah, really, really lots of stuff for like writing and just even like speaking communication in general. But like then there's stuff in that same vein around, and then even Vertex with Chiron in the eighth house can make you like a very, very like fated, like someone who's like fated to be like an intuitive healer in some type of way. So yeah. All right. And yeah, I guess I'd finish off by saying like part of fortune with the sun is a nice indication that that your joy, happiness, and success is associated with the highest expression of Virgo, right? It's literally saying that. I don't see that much part of fortune land on the sun. So to me, that's very interesting. And I think that that is a great way to wrap up this reading. Well, actually, hold up one second. Oh, also, so you don't have any air. I mean, you have Jupiter, that's it. But let me see. So when you don't have air in your chart, breath work really could be like a life changer for you. Um, Going on hikes like just hikes or whatever, where you're able to like get oxygen. But sometimes people with that, they can be a little bit when it comes to communication, it's really important for them to be good with listening. Sometimes like it's like this active listening that's encouraged, right? And there can be like a dogmatism with the lack of air where it's like not open-minded, which I'm not, I don't think that's how you are, but it's like this act, when someone's like really, really listening, but you do have the Virgo. So Virgo is not air, but this kind of saves you in that respect because it is Mercury, right? But um like with the exchange of ideas and it can just make communication a little bit difficult, right? And seeing someone else's side and having that kind of like more basic communication, that more diplomatic communication. So that's something that needs to be that needs to be worked on. You can search on Google, lacking air elements in the natal chart, or lacking the elements in a natal chart, lacking air in a natal chart, and different stuff will come up. But yeah, as I was saying, like the high energy of Virgo 11th house is like you're here for an important reason. We all are, but with your 11th house, it could be linked to a goal that takes, a long, long time. Like there's lots of trials and tribulations that you get past to get to this goal. Um, and I really think when I see 11th house people, I really think that we're headed into this Aquarius age. And it's like I feel like a lot of their life purposes are going to really unfold in the coming years. I think a lot of people, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people, we don't know how the world's gonna change. It's gonna change a lot, and how that's gonna affect spirituality, healers, and stuff. So, I think there's a lot of potential for you in that realm. And yeah, so I'll finalize by saying, the highest energy of Virgo is service, being of service, where you're being okay on a daily level. Like let's say today I can't get to 100, the best I could do is 60, being happy with it, trusting God, trusting that everything is going to work out at the end of the day, right? Um, yeah, I'm not saying you just like push anxiety away, but just really, really slowing down and being someone who is a shining example of consistency, a shining example of just being a good person and giving back. But then I always have to say, in doing all that, someone who isn't just giving, right? Even with your south node on the ascendant, close to the ascendant, like you still have to have that balance between the two, right? So, yeah. Is my camera not on? God damn it. That was annoying. Um, Also serious in the 10th because like some clues for career too, where it's like you can be very caring. It's like very close to your midheaven, right? With your moon. So it could be like a career where you feel um, you know, like you're able to really nurture through your career. So yeah. Yeah. So high Virgo. Remember that. High Virgo is not about, it's like having a sense of humor over your own imperfections and everything else I talked about. So many themes. Take notes. Let me know if you want to add the current astrology. And I told you 260, I wrote down 260 on Cash App because there's no fees. And yeah, hope you enjoy, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.